Hello. Oh, hi, Mom. You're always my first one on here. I love it. Well, we're just gonna hang tight for a minute and wait for people to log on here. But I realized I did not promote this one nearly as much as my last live stream. So I'll be shocked if more people join. But I do have a topic to talk about today. So whether or not people show up and have questions, um, my topic that we're going to talk about today is radically accepting your voice where it's at, which I think is one of the hardest things to do when you are starting out and it feels really scary to be starting. So let me add this into the chat so people know what's up. I love, by the way, this keyboard's amazing. It's so satisfying to listen to. Okay, we're on. Wow, there's 3 of you here. Hello. Okay, so I just dropped it in the chat, but I kind of wanted to talk about something that came up with in a lesson with a student in the last week or so, and that is radically accepting yourself where you are at vocally, which is one of the hardest things you can do, I think. That Jennifer is always first. Anyway, as a student, I remember just hearing over and over and over again from my teacher that it's not about the journey or the destination, it's about the journey. As a singer, because you're just constantly trying to work on your voice and it always changes all the time. So being okay with where you're at is the best thing you could possibly do for yourself. And I think that's one of the most important things to accept. And so many people who, whether you're going to be watching this live or after the fact that this has been published, I think that's one of the hardest things to accept about yourself as a singer when you're just learning that your voice is good and that you can do great things with it and you're going to be just fine and that you are exactly where you need to be on your vocal journey. So that said, I wanted to pose the question to everyone here to just break the ice. What are some of the hard things that you are working through with your voice? And that might even be maybe some emotional things as well, not just technical things. Because I know the voice is so raw and emotional and it's tied to who we are in so many ways. One of the hardest things I remember is just feeling like I don't even know how to describe this, but whenever I would feel stressed or tired and anxious, my throat would really seize up, and so it'd be hard to sing. And in some ways, learning how to sing taught me how to voice what was on my mind or on my heart. And that was something that I learned to accept myself through singing as well, which I think is a beautiful thing. But I'm curious, there's 4 of you watching now, which is kind of cool. If anyone has questions or anything, drop in the chat. I want to answer your questions, my friends. There's a battle for who's my #1 fan with my partner and my mom in the comments or in the chat right now. You're both my #1 fan. You guys are tied, I think. Yay. You experience the same thing in your throat. Okay, it's kind of funny how crazy. They talk about chakras, if you know what the chakras are. The throat chakra is the speaking your truth kind of chakra, that if it's tight, that's a sign that you have something to say, but you're struggling to say it. And I think that's so real. I know it can become physically painful if I feel like I'm holding in something that I really need to say. That's really emotionally charged. Technically speaking, I'm curious if there's some difficult things that you're struggling with. Like some people really struggle with like catching their breath or being able to sing with power instead of like this, they feel like they have to hold back, like they can't fully open. There's so many things in singing that are just really like close to your heart, you know? Feeling like a lump in your throat. Yep, totally. I hear that. All right. So for those who just joined, there's more of you. Wow. Hi. This is open to subscribers to just drop their comments and their questions in there. How did I overcome that? The tightness in my throat? It still happens. Not often, but I think it's more like therapy is very helpful. But being able to focus on keying into who you are and what you want to say. I think there's a lot of people in the world who are really clear with what they want to say from the get-go. They're really honest from the womb. They just go. And then I think most of us have to relearn how to be honest because we've been told that's not okay, or to not voice who we are and what we feel because we won't be lovable or whatever. And I think singing has helped a lot in that. It's so tied to our emotional and mental landscape. And it's something that I think the more that we key into it, the better that we can overcome the struggles of holding ourselves back, I guess, is what that tightness kind of represents, if that makes sense. Yeah. All right. I'm waiting for questions to roll in. I would be curious what other people are struggling with or feeling like their singing journey is about. Because a lot of you are on here, whether you have voice lessons or not, you're probably on my YouTube channel because you are a DIY self-starter kind of person. And you're like, I want to learn how to do this because I'm not letting a lack of resources or a lack of a teacher or whatever get in the way of me learning. And so I feel like kind of your somewhat adoptive private teacher. So I'm like, okay, I got to make sure that you're okay and that you are going to be good to go. And I think so many people get in their heads and when they're learning how to sing and can start to have some negative self-talk. And I think as a teacher, I deal with that with my students all the time, is kind of pinpointing, hey, what's going through your mind right now? And I can see on some of my students' face if they're judging themselves, you know? And so this is one of those moments where you can just kind of key into accepting yourself where you are. It just helps you on your learning journey, you know? The thing I struggle with the most is hitting the high notes. It feels like my voice just cracks every time or something. And any suggestions for old lady voice? That's nice, Mom. I can answer that too. Okay, so I'll start with hitting high notes. Hitting high notes is something that I think a lot of people struggle with, and it just depends on what kind of struggle you are having, because there are different struggles with hitting high notes. I think a common one, the most common one, is like straining when you try to hit the high notes. And in so many ways, for women and men, like female and male voices alike, I think the strain, they're trying to reach for the high note, is the hardest, like one of the worst things you could do, honestly. And it's a kind of a perspective shift is the first thing that needs to happen, is to imagine like the notes are on the same playing field instead of you reaching up to grab it. And then I think another way to approach this is if you have a female voice, you gotta learn how to use your head voice and access that. And getting a teacher is helpful. I have a whole playlist on vocal registers down below in my channel and whatnot. But if you have a male voice, learning how to use head voice is a lot more difficult than if you're using your head voice as a woman, you know? So it's, as a female, I don't have the experience to tell you how to use your male voice on a personal level. But I can tell you that it's a lot more covered. It's gosh, now I'm going to get into jargon. What do I want to say? To keep it general here for the sake of this live stream, you want to create the illusion of full voice if you have a male voice when you're in your head voice or in your upper range. So the place where your full voice, your chest voice, breaks into falsetto. The only reason why male singers can sing higher into their falsetto range and make it sound like it's their full voice is because of head voice, which is an illusion. I talk way more in depth about it in a video down below that you can check out on my channel. It's head voice for the male voice. And then any suggestions for old lady voice? Finding I sound weaker as I get older, is that a subject for a different day? No, today's a good day for it. Finding that you sound weaker as you get older. I think part of it is if you don't move it or use it, you lose it, to a certain extent. Like Dolly Parton's been singing her whole life. She still sounds, I'd say, very youthful considering she's in her 80s. And then there are some people who overuse their voice, like, Mick Jagger and all these really like hard, light living rockers. And they have this really torn up voice just from overuse. And then there's people in between who don't really use it so much on a daily basis. So I'd say the first step is just singing around the house, humming, using your voice on a regular basis is going to help. And then another thing I'd say is reconnecting with your breath support and engagement on what that's like. And I just filmed a bunch of videos for the upcoming next few weeks. So check that out. There's going to be a video on how to actually sing from your diaphragm, and a video on, I think it's in 2 weeks when it will come out, is what engaging the core actually feels like versus tightening. So I talk a lot about you got to engage your core, you got to engage your breath support, but I think a lot of people have no idea what that means. And so I have a video coming out very soon on how to engage your core that I think will help a lot of you. Yeah. But those are really helpful for if you feel like you have like a weak voice. So start moving your voice and then start engaging with your breath support. I think is going to help a lot more. Good posture clears up a lot, and breath support clears up a lot. But yeah, okay. Moving right along. All right. Well, my lovely top 2 or 3 fans, thank you for posting some in there. Let's see. Do you still do online lessons? Can you share the price? Okay, I do online lessons as well. And I have availability. The way you can sign up for online lessons with me for my studio is there's like kind of a process to it, because I want to screen people first to make sure that we're a good fit. And so you can go onto my website. You can click the link down below in the description, and it'll have all the stuff for, you are welcome. You have all the links in there for booking what's called a discovery call. So you fill out this form, gives me a lot of information that will help me get to know you a bit. I reach out to you and we schedule a time that works to just talk on the phone for a little bit. So that way I can answer your questions. And then from there, if this feels like a good fit, we schedule a trial lesson. And the trial lesson at the moment is $80 for a 45 to 55 minute lesson. And then we can talk about programs and everything at the end of that first lesson. So I don't go into great detail about that here, but if you sign up, that's how you do that. So how does it work? So if you decided that you did want to take lessons with me, you would need to download Zoom. And I think the only equipment you would need, an iPhone is not enough. The sound quality is really poor on an iPhone. So a computer with a webcam, and then a USB mic. Those are your 2 things that you're going to need, not just for me, but any online teacher out there is probably going to ask you for a webcam and a USB mic. Most computers have a camera, as I'm doing from my computer right now. And if you live in Europe, I currently live on the west coast of the United States, so it's an 8, 9, 10-hour time difference, depending on where in Europe you are. So that may or may not work. But we can talk. If it's my morning and your evening, I think would be fine. But I do have some availability. So if you are interested, you can check that out by all means. Yeah, anytime. Anyway, if you have specific questions, Brian, for me, not beyond just lessons, if you have any singing questions, this is a great time to ask them, because that's what I'm here for at least the next 5 to 10 minutes. I'm just here as a resource. Today's topic was not that in-depth. Last week's was all about diaphragmatic breathing and apoggio breathing, what that all means. But I feel like this time I just wanted to talk a little bit more on a emotional, technical level, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm trying to think what other things are coming up. I've had some students ask about like performance things. how to perform well, how to get ready for performance. I don't know if that interests any of you. This is also a time if you have topics you want me to film, I would love to know as well. But I have some videos about breathing coming out, but I think I might bring my attention to performance, and maybe even singing while sick is another topic that I've been thinking about lately. If a lot of students have been getting summer colds for some reason. So there's 6 of you watching. I don't know. It's a very quiet class today. Singing lessons in real person, just struggling with my shyness. My teacher asked me to upload my first cover on YouTube. If you want to check out, feel free. Well, that's awesome. Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay. So you're looking for singing lessons in real life. I have a singing teacher who actually lives in, I believe she's in either Belgium or the Netherlands. She's phenomenal. I don't know if she's entirely online though. She might be entirely online, but she's over there. Named Sarah Algoet. I think that's how you pronounce it, Algoet. She's great. But that's awesome. Congrats on uploading that. That's kind of an intimidating thing to upload into the ether, right? Is there any way to overcome nerves before performing, like any good drugs? There's actually, okay, you talk about drugs jokingly, but I'm talking about drugs seriously. So if for the most extreme cases, like when you are like, I have my heart beating in my chest, and it's starting to creep up into my throat and I can't breathe very well and I'm panicking. People recommend taking a beta blocker before a performance if you have severe stage fright. And I say severe for a reason, because you don't really want to just be taking beta blockers before a performance if you don't need them. But for a natural beta blocker, I've heard that eating a banana actually can calm you down. I don't know if it's the potassium or what, but it can really calm you down. The key though, I remember I was doing a performance in Berlin and I was talking with the pianist right before, and he was telling me this, and he said, but you got to be careful. You can't eat too many. I said, why? And he said, well, I ate too many once before a performance, like 2 or 3 bananas. And I just I started to get sleepy. I got too calm. So that's kind of a fun thing. And then is there a specialty that one can drink to calm the nerves? I'd say anything that, like herbally, that says it'll calm you down. Like, doesn't catnip calm you down? Something like that. There's herbs out there that do that. I'd say the biggest thing for stage fright is to just practice doing it. And as scary as it is, practicing how to sing and perform publicly is something you have to practice to get good at. And so everyone's nervous the first many times they sing. I don't know of anyone who's like fearless the first few times that they sing in front of anyone. Everyone's scared. But it's a rite of passage. Think of it that way. What is your favorite thing about teaching and or singing? About teaching, I love how fulfilling it is to see my students' eyes light up every time like we have a breakthrough or I tell them something and it clicks for them. And then the whole lesson, it's like, oh my God, I figured that out. And it's so cool to watch because in some ways I feel like I'm seeing them go through something that I've seen myself go through. And so it's kind of just cool to see it from the outside. And then I guess one of my favorite things about singing, I don't know what else to say other than like, it's just so enjoyable. I just love doing it, but it feels freeing. And I haven't really been practicing singing for a while. I've been taking a big old break for myself. But I've been really, when I do sing or when I do get the hankering to just like sit down and really do it and practice and just enjoy it, it's so beautiful. If it's exhilarating, I don't know, it's indescribable. It's like the feeling that I don't know. It's just there you go. That's what my favorite thing about singing is. It feels amazing. Okay, what exercises help stabilize the larynx? Okay, that's a good question. I need to address something first, and that is stabilizing the larynx is not really something we focus on, nor is it something that really happens. I think when you're referring to stabilizing the larynx, you might be talking about like consistently being able to access or do a certain, like have a consistent tone or be able to consistently hit a note or whatever. Like that to me is stable. It's consistent. So rather than thinking, oh my God, what is an exercise to stabilize the larynx? I think a better question would be what exercises help me reach consistency in my singing? Because not once have I like I've how many teachers have I had? So many teachers. Not like not just my private vocal teachers, but I've had vocal teachers who are like choir directors and opera directors and music directors and like there's so many people that I've learned from and not a single one of them has ever been like, this is where your larynx needs to be. So whenever I have someone talk to me or ask me questions about where does my larynx need to be in this situation, I usually am like, that's not really the focus. That's not really the point. If you're focusing on this, typically what happens is we end up tensing and overcompensating using all the other muscles in our neck. This is a really interesting question. What exercises help stabilize the larynx? So an exercises that can help you consistently. Okay, my words are hard. What exercises help you build consistency in your singing? Those would be exercises that have a very technical focus, specifically about how to access different parts of your register, like exercises that help you focus on different registers, like your low range, your mid range, or high range. Some exercises that help you extend your voice and extend into the upper reaches of your range. Exercises that help you with the onset and the attack and the, what's the word I'm looking for, when you get off of a note, like you sing it and then you're done. Being able to have clean cutoffs, that's the word I'm looking for, and good onsets to notes. Those are really important to have. There's so many exercises that can help you build consistency in your singing. And breathing exercises, I think. Breathing exercises and bringing your awareness to your breath and engaging your core rather than what position is my larynx in? Is it stable? That just brings our attention here and we end up tensing. It's almost like subconscious for most people. So I hope that answered that question. I have so many exercises and specifically like technically focused exercises. They're the exercises I teach to each of my private students, and they're exercises that I have in my Sing Smarter Toolkit, which is down below. So if you're interested and you would like to build a routine that actually like helps you, as you say, stabilize larynx, stabilize like consistency in your singing, I would check that out because it helps you build a good practice routine, a good warm-up routine, and then helps you translate the techniques you're learning in those exercises to whatever songs you're singing. So I think that's the thing that's missing with a lot of stuff on YouTube, is there's lots of how-tos, but not a lot of how to take that technique that you just learned and then apply it to a song. So I think that's the hardest part for people is they're singing a song and they're like, oh my God, this is so amazing. But then there's this one phrase that I'm really awful at singing and I suck at this. And that's really difficult to navigate unless you have a private teacher helping you, you know? So that's what that course is kind of for. It's for those self-starters, which all my YouTubers tend to be. That said, any other questions? Otherwise, I will call it a day in a couple minutes here, but I want to just leave room for another question or two if y'all have them. Anyway, okay. Well, my friends, it's been a lovely live stream. I am going to be doing another one of these in mid-September. Let me just double check which date that is. We're doing this on Friday, September 19th. So mark your calendars. Friday, September 19th is my next live stream at the same time and at noon Pacific. So if you guys have questions, you can always drop them in the comments of my videos, and you can always just hop on these live streams and ask away. But thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next week for another video.